Hi, this is Michael at Home Fitness Gilbert, and today we're going to take you step by step through building a 3G Cardio Elite Recumbent bike. To show you the quickest thing just to start it, I'm going to cut off all the straps. Super simple here, let me do it like this. So, straps off. The easiest way to take any of these bikes out is just peel in here in the back. These just peel off, be careful of the staples. They are sharp. But on one side on the bottom, you just slice this. One slice there, rip that off. Then, what we're going to do is lower this down. And then you can lift it right up and off. And that way everything kind of stays intact. This is the best way of doing it. Let me get all this unboxed and then we'll do the next step. Okay, so we have everything unboxed, kind of spread it all out. That's the best way of doing it we found at the stores. The instructions are pretty clear on a 3G Elite Recumbent. So you're gonna go here and it's gonna be like step 1, step 2, right? And you just go through and you cut out what you need to do each step, and there's a very clear diagram on each sheet of what you're actually doing and what goes where. So I'm gonna start cutting all these out. Now the very first thing we're gonna do is this is kind of like step 1, but it's useless. We'll put the stabilizers on. I tilt it up this way first, so you put the actual crank arms up in the air. We're going to start with this piece, and then we're going to put the back piece on. The reason why is it actually sits up perfectly, and that way we can do everything standing up and not be down, hunched over. Okay, so first things first, you're going to put this little orange thing here. About the easiest thing you'll ever install. That's done. So step 1, complete. We're going to take out the next ones for the stabilizers. Remember, it goes lock washer, then washer on each nut. I take the one with the wheels, which is the front. I'm gonna put it right back here. You can actually pop this through. You can kind of see it go in. Everything, as always, get it hand tightened in first and don't tighten it all the way down. So we're gonna hand tighten on both of these. And then once I get both these in, which I'm trying to make it so you guys can see what I'm doing, but once I get both of those on, now I'll actually go take my Allen and tighten it. So I'm gonna tighten this down, then we'll flip up the next section and we'll start from there. Okay, so I already flipped this up, which I mean, just to show you, you get the wheels on there and then you just come up very gently and you can have it rest right there on the front shroud. Don't slam it down, but if you have it like this, again, everything's nice, easy to reach up in the air. This one is the long bolt, so it'll go through on this. And then you can actually just put it right in here. And then again, the same process. I'm gonna go ahead and hand tighten this down, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get the other one in, tighten them down, and then we'll start from the next step. So super easy to do, you can see it right here. Okay, next step. So we're kind of gonna assemble the neck here is what we call this. Typically, the screws are already gonna come in on the 3G. So all you have to do is take all these little ones out, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna slide this on. So I could have, I guess, pre-done this to make this a little bit quicker. But here you'll see it's relatively fast anyway, just to get all these unscrewed. Again, they give you all of the tools to do the entire delivery and install. 3G, which is pretty nice, so you don't have to own anything. I mean, if you do own some, you'll probably find that your tools are a little bit more precise and a little bit nicer than the ones that are provided, but that's typical of every single fitness company that, you know, they're gonna provide stuff that's not gonna be, you know, DeWalt and Husky, you know, all those sort of things, Milwaukee brands. Okay, so simple enough. You have 2 connectors here, right? And you can kind of post this up like this. These are gonna connect right here, and they can only fit one way. So this one right here, come in, and it clips. This one here, come in, it clips, and then all you do is slide it on. What's cool about 3G is that every other company has a solid piece here, and this is like the thing everyone forgets. They do this whole thing, build it, and then they realize the shroud they forgot. On 3G, once I put all the screws in here, this actually fits right in on the outside, and then you actually take a screw and you screw it together. So now you don't have to remember that step necessarily. It makes it so much easier for like building and assembling. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and put all the screws in here. We're gonna tighten this down and then we'll start with the console. Okay, so now that we have this all tightened in, we have the shroud on, we're gonna take the handlebars well, first I pulled these cords out and I kind of stuff them down in there a little bit. Take the handlebars, stick them on, and then you have your 2 nuts that just go in here. Now, be a little careful not to drop them in the hole, right? Like that goes without saying, but it happens, then it's a total pain because if it falls down through here, it'll go into the shrouding here, and it's brutal to get them out. So, I mean, just be a little bit careful there, but simple enough. I'm gonna tighten these down, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna put on our console. Again, same thing, we're gonna clip both of these here, unscrew these screws. So there's 4 screws in the back, and then it goes right on here, and then I'll screw them in. So we'll kind of show you that process, making this video a little longer than it needs to be, but let me tighten these down and then we'll go from there. All right, Mike, I just jumped the gun and he woed me. So I took all the screws out. I'm about to put on these clips. So just put all the screws right back here because you're gonna hand tighten them in. You kind of take this here and you can kind of rest it right on the edge here. If you're by yourself, again, if you have 2 people, this makes it even easier, except for when Mike's holding the camera. And come in here, boom, oh, put this the right way. Boom, they're both clipped on. What you do, the reason why I said push some of this in is because it's kind of long. So we want to kind of get all these in here. Probably arguably the hardest part about building any bike is like dealing with the cords. So now that I'm here, I can kind of push some of these up and in and whoop, get this bad boy, jeez. Get this bad boy on the back here. And let's try it without having to get crazy. It'll probably sit in that space. Yep. And then it just goes right here. So you kind of pull it back. You can actually see where the holes are. Once you get 1 or 2 in, just a couple of turns, you're good to go. So tighten this all down, and then we'll go on to the next step, which is the seat. Okay, so really fast, semi out of order here. We're just gonna put on this. So the screws are already attached. This is the little tool that they send you. Again, you probably have a better screwdriver at your house. But go ahead and just unscrew this. These are really long screws. So obviously not a bad thing. Let's get them out here. And then we'll just put on the drink holder, kind of completing the front of the bike. So slap one of these bolts in through here and get this. And I'm not gonna tighten these down all the way because you kind of get the idea of what I'm doing here. Boom. And I'll come back and do that at the end, rather than wasting a bunch of time showing you how to screw in a drink holder, but that's how we go there. So the next step now is the seat. So go ahead and take all the bolts out. It's figure 4 up here. Now this part's always a little confusing because they have this zip tie. It's just so it doesn't fall out during packaging. Cut the zip tie, be very careful not to catch your fingers, anything like that. But we always cut the zip tie because it makes it a lot easier to work with than bending. I don't want to bend the wires and end up breaking them. So zip ties are cut. It goes on the side here. So, kind of go ahead and get this here. But, and again, you really won't damage anything. Don't worry too much about that. But if you have a second pair of hands, like Mike's helping stabilize this, it changes everything. Boom. So both of them are connected. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of push them in on their respective sides. There we go. Set this down. There are 3 longer bolts. They go through, and we're gonna tighten all 3 of these into here. So hand tighten, of course. The next step will be the seat. Okay, I was wrong. It's the post that's next. No big deal. You know, if somebody chastised me in the comments, at least I know somebody actually watches these other than myself and my son. So let me go ahead and just put these on here. There's 4 of them. So 2 on the front, and this is the feature that actually allows you to recline backward, forward, sit forward. So 2 here, and then they're on the sides as well. Ones on the sides are not too bad to get to, but again, just get them in there all by hand first, and then tighten them down, because if you tighten one side down, you'll actually make it so you can't really get them lined up. Once they're in here, grab your Allen and just tighten them down. Then I'm gonna bring you to the seat. Okay, so the next thing that we're gonna do is the seat. So I'm already on this side of the bike. I put my hand tighten bolts in. Now I'll do it on the other side so that way you can see what I'm doing. It's a little easier if you get down low, get upside down. Again, sort of Find your way in there, boom. Catch a few of those. And with everything that you build on all exercise equipment, it should thread pretty easily by hand. If it's not threading easily, then you're probably cross-threading. Just back it back out, wiggle it until it actually goes in easily. Actually, I just did it right there, because boom, get all these in by hand, and then we're gonna go through, tighten them down, and we're on to the very last steps. Okay, so on to the hard stuff. The seat, simple here. Put it right in here, you slide this in, and there's 4 of these bolts. Again, the same principle on everything always. Hand tighten, and then go through and tighten them afterwards. So we're gonna put all these on right here. Then we're gonna put the lever that actually allows us to tilt the seat on over here next. Okay, so you slide this in. Only one way it can really go in is with this side facing up. So right here, you're gonna go ahead and slide it, boom, it pops in. There's a hole right here to put the fastening nut into, and again, we're gonna just tighten this down. Kind of hard to do with my left hand, I'm right-handed, but anyway, we're gonna put the nut in there, and then we're gonna tighten that down. So join me on the pedals next. Okay, so I already did the left pedal. They're clearly labeled, by the way, R. If you actually look at the pedals on the inside here, there's an L and an R, so that'll tell you which side. Just carefully kind of like rotate this in here, and you should actually feel it catch. If it doesn't catch, don't tighten, especially here, because probably the #1 thing people do when they build these on their own is cross thread pedals. And you want to make sure that it kind of goes in on its own. So, trying to work it here. Always how it works whenever you're on a video. Okay, I can feel that that's twisted in probably about 3 times on its own. So I know I'm not cross-threaded. Take my wrench and simply go around. Now when you get to the final part here, you're gonna feel it get tight. I wanna give it one more little oomph, so that way it doesn't come loose. You put your strap in here. The last thing I have to do is plug this thing in, actually test it out, and we are good to go. This is fully built. Really, if it wasn't for filming the video, this takes me by myself probably about 25 minutes. So pretty easy, but we've been explaining things and actually slowing down. So if you have any other questions, feel free to call At Home Fitness Gilbert today.